Part 2. Anthem. Meet Again. Axel's Last Stand. Chapter 1. Radiant Garden. In Twilight Town, where the sunset's long shadows teem with mysteries, Hayner, Pence, and Olette were in their usual spot. The three of them had gotten together in the storage space they'd claimed under the train tracks. "I'm absolutely sure of it," said Olette, clutching her little cloth purse. Hayner slumped his shoulders.
"But that can't be right."
"Then how would you explain this crystal?" Olette opened the purse and took out the blue orb.
"Well..."
Hayner started, folding his arms, and fell silent. "Besides, I made the purse myself. There's no way I can be wrong about this." She was completely adamant. Hayner looked to Pence for help.
"Sora and his friends had one too. The same purse with the blue crystal in it. There can't be two of the same thing,"
said Pence. Hayner and Olette nodded.
"Except there are," he went on. "Where could they have gotten a hold of another purse and another crystal?" "We'd have to ask them,"
Hayner said with a frown.
"I've got a theory. Maybe there's a copy of this world, and that's where this purse and crystal came from. And things that aren't here are there."
Pence grinned at them. "So, in the other worlds where Sora got these, maybe that's where Kairi is," said Olette. She sounded uncertain, but Hayner jumped up and stood atop a pile of boxes to shout.
"I get it! Pence, you're a genius!"
"But we don't know where it actually is or how to get there." Looking up at Hayner, Pence heaved a sigh. At the same moment, in the same town, in the white room of the haunted mansion, Soul Eater met the ethereal blades. Surrounded by the walls covered in Nominee's drawings, two men with swords glared at each other. They bore strong similarities to each other. Not only were they wearing the same clothes, but their resemblance was closer than that of brothers, from their faces to their builds.
"Xehanor's power should be greater than this,"
said Xemnas. Ansem, or rather Riku, scowled in distaste, his fingers tightening on Soul Eater. He couldn't land a blow on Xemnas, who appeared to be doing no more than standing still. In fact, he couldn't even move.
"What's the matter?"
Xemnas said, trying to provoke Riku, and the ethereal blades disappeared from his hands. Gritting his teeth, Riku readied Soul Eater. Xemnas took a step toward him. A small cry came from Naminé. "Diz!" Without a sound or any other signal to his presence, Diz stood behind Xemnas, quietly watching him and Riku.
"Ah, now I see."
Xemnas paused and shifted his gaze to Diz, narrowing his eyes.
"Xemnas,"
Diz called to him. But Xemnas did not even fully turn toward him, only smiled dauntlessly and vanished.
"Maybe you were just trying to help," said Riku, "but you ruined my chance to take him down."
He turned Soul Eater on Diz. The gummy ship touched down on the next world, which happened to be Hollow Bastion.
"I thought everything was under control here, or it was supposed to be."
Sora scratched his head as suspicious dark figures scuttled by in front of them.
"There's more Heartless?"
Goofy mumbled, astounded, readying his shield.
"We'd better go ask Leon what's up,"
said Sora, charging into the Heartless. They were scattered into nothing before the others had time to blink.
"That's a few less to worry about."
Goofy stowed his shield.
"Gee, Sora, you've gotten pretty strong,"
he said lazily. Sora rested the Keyblade across his shoulders.
"I always was."
"Nah, not really," Donald remarked, and Goofy nodded.
"Aw, you too, Donald?"
Sora pouted.
"You weren't this strong when we first met ya,"
said Goofy. Donald roundly agreed and added, "You were kinda helpless back then." Goofy bobbed his head.
"Come on, guys!"
Sora protested, crossing his arms, and then someone came running toward them.
"There you are, lads!"
"Uncle Scrooge!" Donald hopped up. The old gentleman duck in the top hat stood before them holding 3 ice cream pops. "Whack!" Donald cocked his head and leaned in for a whiff of the ice cream.
"Bless me bagpipes, I've finally done it!" Scrooge crowed. "I recreated that old sea salt ice cream." "Ice cream? Oh, I'll have one!"
Sora wasted no time scampering up to Scrooge and taking one. Donald and Goofy accepted the other 2. It doesn't taste funny this time? Donald uncertainly examined the blue ice cream.
Try it and see, Scrooge urged them.
Sora didn't need the encouragement to take a bite.
It's salty, but sweet.
He took another bite. It was a curious mix of flavors, with a subdued sweetness emerging behind the salty flavor. Sweet, cold, but salty ice cream. Somehow, it tasted familiar. Like something he knew from long ago. Whack! That flavor! Donald cried after tasting it.
What about it?
Asked Sora, but Donald just kept staring at the ice cream.
Come on, what?
Donald seemed perplexed. Sora shrugged and went on eating his. It really felt like he'd tasted it before.
Yeah, sitting with the others, watching the sunset somewhere. But where was that?
This is pretty good, said Goofy. Scrooge puffed out his chest with satisfaction.
Aye, isn't it unique? When I was a lad, all the young'uns were crazy for it. Can I have another one?
Sora held up his bare ice cream popstick. That was fast, Donald exclaimed.
Maybe you guys are slow,
Sora retorted, but he licked the stick as if he did regret finishing it so quickly.
Well, you can have as many as you like.
Scrooge reached for a mini freezer behind him and took out another ice cream pop. Don't eat too many, said Goofy, just a tiny bit concerned.
You'll get a stomachache. But I've wanted ice cream for ages.
Sora took the second one and chomped down.
That sea salt ice cream is something, isn't it? But sadly, the rest of town's in no state to enjoy it,
said Scrooge, worry clouding his face.
Would you mind helping out Leon and his chums? Oh, right! We'd better go!
Sora crammed the rest of the ice cream in his mouth and took off. Right then, Leon was in Ansem's study, fighting with his gun blade. Heartless appeared one after another to surround him.
They just keep coming,
he muttered, then glared at the main terminal screen.
Is the MCP making Heartless by itself?
He began typing on the keyboard.
Tron.
There was no reply, not from Tron anyway. Instead, an alarm sounded and a message appeared on the screen. Ignorant users, obey the MCP. A deep frown rose on Leon's face. The trio ran to Merlin's house, driving off Heartless along the way.
What happened to this place, Leon?
Sora shouted the moment he opened the door. Sid didn't seem to notice, completely absorbed in whatever work he was doing at the computer. Yuffie and Merlin were peeking over his shoulders. Hurry up, Sid! Yuffie stamped her foot.
Maybe if you keep quiet,
Sid snapped.
Confound it, how long will this take?
Even Merlin sounded impatient.
What's going on?
Sora warily tapped Sid on the shoulder.
Aha, talk about your good timing.
Sid paused in typing and finally turned to the newcomers. The MCP is causing a bunch of trouble inside the computer, said Yuffie. Not again! Donald slumped in dismay.
How's Tron doing?
Sora asked. Sid and Yuffie exchanged glances. We can't reach him. Yuffie glanced back at the screen.
We'll go check on him,
said Sora.
Thanks, kid. Meanwhile, we're putting together an MCP eradication program. I got a hunch it's almost finished, too,
Sid told them with some self-congratulation. Merlin looked askance at him and sighed.
Well, I hope your hunch is right for once.
Listen, Yuffie said to the trio before the other two could bicker anymore. We're gonna need Tron's help when the program's complete.
Got it. We'll make sure to tell him,
Sora nodded.
All right, lads, we're counting on you,
said Merlin. Sora grinned at him and headed off for Ansem's study with Donald and Goofy. The path to the castle was crawling with Heartless, and so was the postern. The trio fought their way through the study where Leon and Aerith were waiting for them.
Did you check in with Sid?
Asked Leon with his gun blade still raised. They had to keep their guard against the onslaught of Heartless.
Yup,
Sora replied. Aerith gave him a tiny smile.
And the program?
Said Leon. He said it's almost done, Donald reported. Oh, thank goodness, said Aerith. Hey, Leon, why don't you go back and help Sid? I've got this place under control. Leon frowned, wrinkling the scar between his eyes.
Are you sure?
Receiving a pointed look, he broke off and nodded.
Right, it's all yours. How's Tron?
Asked Sora.
We still can't get in touch with him.
Leon glanced at the big computer screen.
Maybe you guys should give it a shot. We'll just go talk to him in person.
Sora went to the oversized keyboard and looked up at the screen. It still displayed the message in red text. Ignorant users, obey the MCP.
Then I've got a favor to ask,
said Leon.
When you find Tron, would you tell him to come to the I.O. tower? That's where we'll upload the MCP eradication program.
Aerith nodded, agreeing with the plan.
The I.O. tower,
Goofy repeated thoughtfully to help himself remember.
Thanks, and watch your back,
said Leon. Sora typed in his and Donald's and Goofy's names, and they were transported to the world inside the computer. When they found Tron inside the Space Paranoid's world, it was just in time. Heartless were bearing down on him from all sides.
Tron! Sora, watch out!
Tron cried, and in the same instant, a red laser beam blasted him to the ground.
Are you okay?
Goofy ran to him as Sora took up the Keyblade and plowed through the lasered Heartless. Take this! Fire! Donald blasted it with some magic. After Goofy helped him to his feet, Tron knocked back the Heartless that came after him. The creatures regrouped to surround them again.
Here I come!
Sora knocked them away all at once. Donald and Goofy and Tron were there to finish them off.
Woo! Did we get them off for now?
Sora checked the area nearby. There were no more Heartless in the vicinity that he could see.
Thanks.
Tron sat down on the spot in exhausted relief.
You really saved me.
So what's going on in here? Asked Donald.
The MCP is ready to wage all-out war against the users,
said Tron.
What effect is that having on the outside? It's causing trouble with the town's control system, but Sid's making a program that can de-res the MCP.
Sora plunked down beside him for a breather.
We gotta go pick it up at the I.O. tower,
Goofy added, peering curiously at Tron.
He thinks we can use it to stop the MCP for good. That's amazing. We'll try it.
His spirits lifted. Tron jumped to his feet, then paused and cocked his head.
But who's this Sid? He's a friend of ours. Leon and Merlin and Aerith and Yuffie. They're on the outside trying to help you,
Sora said as he got up too. Hearing that, Tron smiled broadly.
I must have a lot of user friends.
He sounded truly glad for it. Well, let's get to the I.O. tower. Donald held up his wand in determination. Sid went on typing, his face grim as he stared at the screen.
Finished?
Leon squinted at it anxiously. Sid sucked his teeth in frustration.
Would be if it didn't involve parsing that old loon's magic. Old loon, you say?
Merlin's voice rose to a falsetto with indignation. He pointed his wand at Sid.
Why, I'll show you who's old.
Just as he made an ominous wave of his wand, Sid removed a small disc from the computer. Done! Merlin's spell struck him in his moment of triumph and knocked him flat, but Sid didn't even seem to notice, smirking from the floor with the disc safe in his hand.
There you go, Leon. One homemade program topped with loony wizard magic. All right, I'm off.
Leon took the disc and headed briskly for the door.
Be on your guard,
Merlin called after him. The trio and Tron stood in the I.O. tower amid deafening alarms. Come on! Donald stamped his foot. Hurry up, Leon! Sora yelled at the ceiling, and finally a bright light beamed down from overhead.
Here it is!
Tron took a flat disc with a hole in the middle from his back and held it aloft. It floated up, drawn into the light, and after beginning to glow itself, drifted back down into his hands. Does it feel right? Donald asked.
This is a very strange program.
The shining disc illuminated Tron's puzzled face. That's Merlin's magic, said Donald with a shriek of pride in his instructor.
Huh? There's a power boost for me too.
Tron replaced the disc on his back and turned to Sora.
So, it'll work?
Sora grinned.
Well, like you users say, we won't know until we try,
said Tron. Sora nodded. Then let's try it.
It's time to face the MCP. Let's go.
Tron led the way out of the tower.
The MCP is straight ahead.
Tron had brought them to a huge round building with some kind of cylindrical machine hanging from the ceiling.
So there you are.
The man who greeted them was dressed like Tron, except with orange glowing lines and patterns, and regarded them with stern disdain.
Who's that?
Sora whispered to Tron.
Commander Sark, second only to the MCP.
Tron quietly readied his disc, which also served as his weapon.
Does that mean he's the strongest after the MCP?
Tron nodded as Sark fixed a nasty glare on him.
Tenacious little bugs, your time is up. Prepare for de-resolution.
Sark summoned up Heartless to attack them. Whack! Donald furiously waved his wand.
You take care of those things,
said Tron.
I'll deal with Sark.
Roger! Sora replied, and the trio took on the Heartless to cover Tron as he charged at Sark.
Traitor!
Sark also had a disc, which he hurled at Tron.
Sark!
Tron knocked it aside with his own. The weapon rebounded and struck Sark in the chest.
Gah!
Sark collapsed to one knee. Sora rushed in with the Keyblade, and Sark toppled face forward to the floor.
Tron.
The new voice rumbled from above their heads, where the alarms were blaring. The four of them searched for the source until they saw the eerie, bright red face on the enormous cylinder before them.
Is that the MCP?
Sora repositioned the Keyblade.
That's right. Didn't pay much attention to visual interference, did it?
Tron remarked, looking up at the program.
Tron, you still don't understand?
It said with its unsettling voice.
We have no need for users. We programs have advanced. They are superfluous. Merge with me and the world will be ours to control.
You're the one who doesn't get it. As Tron glared back, the expression on the huge, weird face twisted with anger.
Sark.
Hearing his name, Sark dragged himself upright.
All of my functions are now yours,
the MCP told him, and Sark's body grew. Barriers of light formed around the MCP.
Whoa!
Sora jumped back.
Sora, let's do this.
Tron tossed his disc up at Sark, now towering over them, and it found its mark on his jaw. Sark halted for a moment, so Sora leaped up high and bashed at his head with the Keyblade. Whack! The barriers of light surrounding the MCP began whirling with ferocious speed, knocking Donald and Goofy aside.
Whoa! Sora, over here!
Tron called. There was a gap in the barriers. Sora jumped down from Sark and dashed over to Tron.
We've got to feed the program into the MCP through here.
Tron put his hand up on Sora's shoulder. Sora felt a mysterious power flowing into him. He raised the Keyblade and a beam of light shot out at the MCP. Wow! Donald marveled. That's neat! But as soon as the words left him, an ear-splitting metallic shriek rang out. The face of the MCP warped and disappeared from the cylinder, and white light swirled in its place.
We did it!
Tron jumped for joy and hugged Sora.
Whoa, that's not very program-like,
Sora laughed, a bit embarrassed.
Yuck, so Tron has a not-so-serious side too,
Goofy said cheerfully.
I learned it from you three.
Tron let go of Sora.
I do have my limits though, I'm still a program.
Oh, okay. I'll tweak your programming when we get back out. Sora grinned.
Maybe we better not try that,
Tron said with some concern. His worried expression wasn't very like him either. Sora had to laugh.
How about it? Singing Tron or dancing Tron? What you think?
Sounds like fun to me, Donald agreed. Tron laughed.
Well, before you all crash me, Sora, Donald, Goofy.
They all looked up at him as his voice turned earnest again.
And all the other users out there.
He turned his gaze upward to address the ones on the outside, even though they couldn't see him.
Thank you. You truly helped me, and you made me so much stronger. You taught me what friendship is. I'll never forget that. As soon as I met you, I knew we would defeat the MCP and free the system together.
Tron held out his hand to Sora, who grasped it, only to be pulled into another hug. Seeing the boy's bewildered expression, he pulled back and grinned.
Isn't this what users do when they're sorry to say goodbye?
It's a first for me. Sora shrugged sheepishly.
It's kinda like a promise that we'll see each other again, Tron,
Goofy explained.
Oh, I see. Well then.
Tron caught Goofy in a hug, then Donald.
I promise.
The trio nodded. Tron gave them a smile, a real one that showed how glad he was for their friendship, then began to walk away.
Where are you going?
Sora called out. Tron went to where the MCP had been, to the swirl of white light, and flung himself into it.
Tron!
He seemed to dissolve into the brilliant glow. As the others stood wondering, a rumble shook the entire building. As Aerith closely watched the screen in the computer lab, Yuffie came running in. "Things are settling down in town," she announced. "The only Heartless left anywhere are the local variety, and there aren't as many as before."
"What a relief," said Aerith. "Now if we can just get those 3 back in one piece."
She turned back to the computer to find it humming with effort again. Sora and his friends appeared with flashes of light.
"There you are!" Aerith dashed over to them.
Yuffie grinned. "Good work, you guys!" But Sora, Donald, and Goofy didn't smile back.
"How's the town?"
Sora mumbled. "A-okay." Yuffie gave him a thumbs up.
"Not a trace of the MCP," Aerith added brightly. "It's all back to normal. We did it."
"Hey, why the long face?" Yuffie leaned in to peer at Sora. "Did something happen?" "Tron just disappeared." Donald was downcast too.
"And he promised he'd see us again."
But the moment Sora said that, an alert beeped from the computer.
"What now?"
Aerith spun toward the screen.
"Greetings, friends. The system is up and ready for user input."
It was Tron's voice.
"Tron!"
The trio scurried to the computer.
"Stay in touch,"
said Tron. He was definitely talking to them. "Hooray!" Donald shoved himself in front of the keyboard and pounded on it for sheer joy.
"Hey, stop it. That tickles."
"Tron is ticklish?" Goofy cocked his head. Sora crept up to the keyboard and mischievously started mashing random keys.
"How about this?" "Please, stop it,"
Tron protested. "And this!" Donald joined in, poking at the keyboard.
Guys, cut it out! Really!"
At that, they finally stopped.
"I want to show you something to thank everyone," said Tron. "Something I dug up in the system archives. You could see how the town looked back when it was first built."
Bright light shone from the screen, filling the computer lab, as well as the entire town outside they found when they left the castle.
"I was wondering when our town got an awful name like Hollow Bastion."
Yuffie squinted against the brilliance. "You know, the town had another name once," Aerith murmured, gazing at the shimmering scenery.
"What was it?"
said Sora. "Radiant Garden." The lights scattered into tiny glowing motes streaming through the streets as if they had welled up from the springs throughout the town. And as that radiance filled the world, the glory of days gone by took shape before them, as did their hopes for the future.